What's going on, y'all? I just wanted to make a video talking about the state of 1033 Records. Um, if you don't know what 1033 is, 1033 is the current iteration of the label that I founded as a child. The original label was London Entertainment Music Group, and over time it turned into 1033 Records. I'm not going to get into the full backstory. I've done that a few times, but I just wanted to talk about the current state of 1033, the label. I got my notes so I don't go off track and, have this video be too long. First things first, talking about signing artists to 1033. Since its inception, 1033 has had a max of 3 artists. The first being myself, the second being Popcasso, the third being Slim Haley. Over time, that structure has kind of shifted. Currently, it is just me wholly, but Haley has her own imprint with Spilling Tea. Popcasso has his own with Tupelo Visions. And yes, they still release things under 1033, like if we collaborate together or if I have a heavy hand in helping the project get over the finish line, they will still be 1033 releases. But in the last however many years, it has just been me releasing under 1033. Not in a negative way or anything. It's just people having the space and room to build their own things and build them out how they see fit. When it comes to new artists, though, like people that I meet or that I'm interested in collaborating with, or people that reach out to me, that really boils down to how do I think they're going to mesh with what I've already been trying to build. I'm not really in the space of a major label or even a major independent label where it's just business. I don't really care who you are. Sign the paperwork, make my money, go on about your day. That's not really my thing. So with 1033 being so deeply ingrained into who I am as a person and building it out like that to where it's very, family oriented, community oriented, I personally feel like the people that I bring in have to match that. If it's just a thing of you want help releasing your project, I can give help without you having to be 1033. If you want to pay for services, you can pay for services without having to be 1033. I have a very strict, moral compass when it comes to how I want 1033 to be facilitated, and it is my, short list of things, expectations that I have for artists when they bring that up. I do not do cursing and profanity for my own releases. I don't do them for 1033 releases. I have no problem helping finish an album and you do what you do on your album and it goes out. No problem with that. It's not that I won't work with people that differ in that aspect. But when it comes to things that I'm going to put my company name on, it's like, okay, now this is a change that I need you to make. And when I was younger, it used to be a situation of I'm uncomfortable trying to contain someone's art because that's never the goal. But it has always been presented to me when we have these conversations about things. It's, you're coming to me and saying, I want to be a part of what you're building. So in my mind, if you're coming to me and want to be a part of what I'm building, then you have to abide by the guidelines that I've set. If it's a situation where I reach out to you and I'm just like, hey, I just want to get something going. I want to see if we can make something. Absolutely. Do your thing. I don't expect you to be on your song and, mind my personal beliefs. But if you're operating under my business, if you're operating on my songs, then that's where my line is drawn. So moving on from that's where I'm at with signing artists right now. There's not a list of people that I'm interested in looking to. I also feel like in this current landscape of independence and ownership, I'm not providing the type of financial relief to an artist that they'll get elsewhere. I am much more on the side of, technical expertise, and, assistance in that regard. Think, think like how Rick Rubin is always involved with so many things. I'm that for a lot of people, but also hands-on in the engineering process, in the production process, in the mixing and mastering process. That's kind of my lane when it comes to collaboration with people as of late. Additionally, moving on to the next point, maintaining my original goal of helping artists. That's another reason why the structure of 1033 has not shifted too much, because my main goal has always been to help people succeed in whatever way that looks to them. If they just want to cross the line of finally releasing an album, finally releasing a song, I want to be able to help them do that. And there's a level of difficulty with that when it comes to developing artists, because a lot of times people are at a lower skill level. They might have genuinely never done this before. So being the person to help teach them these things and then have them execute these things and then go on to finally release the project or the song, that could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months, it could take years. There are people that I've worked with where, it's just been 2 or 3 years of trying to get across the hump, whether that hump is nervousness, anxiousness, practice, skill set, writing, whatever it may be. But the difficult side of that is I am just one person. I don't have a team that helps facilitate these things with 1033. It is just me every step of the way. So having to split my time up between artists at varying degrees of capability, it starts to feel like I'm not giving them my best, and that's not what I want to do. So that's another reason why 1033 hasn't, blossomed in the realm of, signed artists, signed acts, things like that. I would love for it to. I would love to have a calendar where I can look at and see, Cameron release, artist number 1 release, artist number 2 release, collaboration release, whatever it may be. I would love to see a 1033 calendar like that, but that hasn't been the case, just by nature of everyone's on a different path currently. So finding people that align with what I'm trying to do, but also don't mind making the necessary adjustments to be a part of what I'm building. I don't want to have what I've spent so long building turn into a shadow of its former self, just for the sake of saying, oh, there are other people signed, when those other people don't care about 1033 at all, when those other people aren't, contributing to the betterment of the label, to the betterment of the community, whatever it may be. With that being said, when I do assist people outside of my circle with releases, typically it says in association with 1033 Records LLC. That is 100% because I don't want to be dismissive of my brand and the work that I've done to help bring this project to life. But I also don't want people thinking, oh, 1033 released this? I thought they don't do X, Y, and Z. Because I've run into that. There are people that have known me or known of me since I started this as a kid, and they're still waiting on me to release, explicit albums and start doing this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's not my brand. That's not what I do. That's not who I am. I don't know why you're still waiting and expecting, that to happen. So there's a part of me that's like, I'm not trying to attach anything that is misaligned to my brand, but I'm also not trying to negate giving 1033 the credit that is deserved for the work that's been done. So it's finding that balance of when to say this was released by 1033 Records versus this was released in association with 1033 Records versus, hey, don't put my name on it at all. I don't agree with where this has went, where this has gone, and I don't want my name associated. So trying to balance that out while also being professional about it, it's been a tricky thing to navigate. That's why most things now are just, it's either I don't want to muddy the water too much. So it's either 1033 Records LLC as the copyright holder, as the record label of release, or their record label that they decide to make up on the spot, or just their name, and then in association with 1033 Records. 1033 as a whole, I've always tried to build, yes, to be able to eventually be financially dependent on the work that's done by 1033, but I also know that my end goals are not purely financial. The finances are a very big part of being able to do the things that I want to do with 1033, that I want to be able to do for the community, for my family, yes. But I never wanted 1033 to feel like it was purely a financial asset. I wanted it to still feel personal, familial, very intertwined with me as a person, rather than just, I slapped a name on something, I'm willing to do whatever to make a few dollars. I don't really care how my name looks associated with it. That was never going to be something that 1033 was. And with my most recent addition to 1033 being Meji Media, if you don't know, if you didn't see that post, Meji is what my nephew calls me. He's 2. He does not say Uncle Cameron. He calls me Meji. And I wanted a way to intertwine that into the business as it stands currently, and going forward, all the physical stuff that we do. So any physical editions of CDs, any limited edition stuff with the music, it will have the Meji Media tag, almost like a physical media certifier. Like, hey, if you see the Meji Media logo on it, you know that this is a limited edition 1033 Records physical release or special release, whatever it may be. But that's where we stand now with 1033 and the additions to it, and just overall why it feels like it is just me constantly promoting. The truth is, as much as I hate to admit it, no one else cares about 1033 Records as much as I care about it, and that's not a negative thing. That's just a reality, because it was built from home, between my parents' house, my grandparents' house, in the community that I grew up in, and so much of me and my life and my childhood and my ups and downs have been ingrained into this company. Of course, no one's going to love it as much as I love it, but there's also no real team operating it. Most successful companies, at least there's a team, even if they are not invested into the company as heavily. They're still working there at bare minimum. And since I currently cannot afford to pay complete strangers to run certain things, I have no choice but to keep manning all these posts until I'm able to find, employees that are able to do these tasks, or I find people who are interested in investing in 1033 in a way that I haven't seen before. I would love to have people that I could call on left and right that are exclusively working for 1033 or things like that. But I understand that's not where the label is. That's not where the company is at this state right now. I can call some of my friends that also work in music and ask them for a favor, but I try not to bother them because I know they're also working on their own things. The conversations have happened over the years of, hey, if we all came together and did X, Y, and Z, we could be further along. One of the biggest issues with that is, obviously, everyone has their own business goals and their own imprints and company ideas. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work out like you would expect it to. We all collaborate amongst our businesses, but it's not really a united front. It's I have mine, You have yours, you have yours, you have yours. When we do stuff, we make sure all of our names are involved, but it's still this person is working on their thing, this person is working on their thing, you know, and again, that's not in a negative way towards people working towards their goals, but it's also showing like, hey, each of us are also in the same boat where it is just us facilitating all these things for our business. If we came together and built one thing, I wonder how far we'd get. And we've tried that in a few ways. The Marvels was the closest thing we got to trying to do something like that. But I say that to say I'd rather be patient about building 1033 out and making sure I find my people, and I have people that I can trust to do these jobs, and I can afford to pay these people what they're worth, rather than just going in gung-ho and getting any and everybody that says they'll do something and then nobody does anything and I still have to do all the work. Moving beyond 1033, the label, as just the state of things. Obviously there's music projects coming. Specifically speaking on 1033 projects that I'm helping facilitate, and they're not 1033 projects like they're releasing under 1033. These are like I mentioned before, those in association with 1033. There are 4 currently, 5 give or take a little, but 4 for sure. 2 of them are group projects where the artists have their own group, they're individual artists that came back together for group projects. And then within that group, there's a subgroup and they're also doing a project. So those are 2 group projects that 1033 has been tapped to offer production, engineering, songwriting, whatever's needed. The next one is actually a Slim Haley project. She's working on a new project. I'm not gonna spoil any of her information. She just released a single titled Most Hated. I've been engineering that project, so look out for that one. I'm pretty sure that's a 2027 release, but there is a single out now. The next one is a Fables project. He is working on an EP, and we did some production. We're going to do some engineering on that. And then the 5th one, not going to mention the 5th one because that one might not come to light just yet. In terms of actual 1033 projects that are releasing, there is a new collab album. It is not anything on the scale of the Marvels projects. It's just something small. Probably not going to be more than 10, 12 songs. Just something to get everybody back in the process of creation. Then my next album, which is planned for 2027 as well. I'm not gonna announce too much on it, but I do have another album that I'm working on for 2027. This year I kind of took the route of EPs. I felt like after releasing Who Else But Me last year, putting in a year plus of work into that album, I feel like I exhausted myself and did everything that I wanted to, that I could think of for that album. And part of me feels like it still didn't, hit how I would have liked for it to hit, but it was still a very successful release, all things considered. So this year I only released Sweet Nothings, the EP, and Cherry. I call Cherry an album. I know it's technically an EP. I only call it an album because of the amount of work I put into it. And I just like the fact that I can treat it as an album. I didn't want to, add more songs and then feel like it was bloated. So I just kept the 6, sent it out. It's longer than 30 minutes, so technically it's an album. But that's what is being worked on currently for 1033 Records as the label, like actual label releases going out. So, yeah, final thoughts on everything. It's a lot. It's a lot to try and balance out all the aspirations and goals and do the work and be behind the scenes and in front of the camera. But it's worth it. I can't really imagine a life where I wasn't doing this. I mean, I can, but it would be purely because I'm making the music and not having to make the videos and, social media content. Speaking of social media content, it has been an uphill battle over the last few months with posting anything. I get locked around 2 likes and maybe 20 to 100 views, and then I get hit with the post saying that I should pay for ads so it can reach more people, and I refuse to be held up by these social media apps for visibility. I understand that's the game they're playing. Unfortunately, I don't want to play it. In the last few weeks alone, I think they wanted me to spend upwards of $700-800 between all the videos I posted to be seen. And I'm just not going to do that. That's not affordable for me. I can't speak to what anyone else does, but I don't want to get in the habit of having to spend money just for something that I post to be seen. It's different if it was something that I posted and it was getting attention, and then I paid for an ad to get more attention. But if the social media apps are just going, oh, we're not going to show this to anyone unless you pay the $40, unless you pay the $50, I'm not doing it. So if you feel like you haven't seen me in a while on socials, that's probably what it is. I've been finding it on IG, TikTok, YouTube even. So just dealing with that. But yeah, it's a lot to balance it all. Because every idea that I have for this company, I know that I'm solely responsible for bringing it to life. And I don't want to cut corners, and I don't want to, minimize any ideas of success that I have for this company. I believe that if I have been given the thought, then I can make it a reality. God wouldn't give me the idea if I wasn't able to bring it to life. It's been like I mentioned, it's been an uphill battle. I've been doing this since I was 13. I'm 30 now. And in many ways, I feel like I haven't done anything. I feel like I haven't grown at all. But then I slow down and I look at it and I'm like, oh, wow, I've made a lot of progress. 13-year-old me would be amazed at what I'm able to do now, at what we've accomplished, at the deals that we've made, with the companies we've partnered with and worked with. That in and of itself is why I feel like it's, how do I put it? I feel like it's important to have both a support system while you're trying to navigate all of this, as well as an actual team of people to work with. I feel like I'm supported by a lot of people. A lot of people cheer on a lot of the ideas that I create. But I don't feel like there's a lot of teamwork in getting them built. Yes, completely understand people don't do work for free. So even when I am paying people for things, I know it's still transactional. So it's like, I mention this to my mom a lot. We had this conversation where I feel like I took the idea of treat people the way you want to be treated. I took that very literally. And everything that I do for my business, everything that I do for other people, it's because I'm like, yeah, I would want you to look out for me like this. I would want you to help me like this. And then I realize, over time, oh, wait, a lot of people are just going to get what they want. They're never planning to return those favors. They're not going to help me. They're not going to look out for me. They're not going to, invest in my business the way I invested in theirs. And that was a tough pill to swallow, but it was a necessary pill to swallow. So it's like, okay, I got to lock in. I got to be a lot more mindful with who I'm associating with, how I'm associating with them, and, where I'm getting that support and that teamwork from. And all of that can and will put you in a state of feeling like you're giving up or like you should give up. But I don't know. It's something about pushing through it and seeing the struggle, even when I know I'm already feeling like, man, I can't do this anymore. I've done everything that I can. It's not working. You know, not to get too in personal business or anything, but like even from a relationship standpoint, there are people that I've met and it'll be like, oh, you're 30, still trying to pursue this music thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm running a business. I do this for income as well as my own, you know, personal desires and stuff. It's not just like, oh, I woke up, didn't go to work, made a SoundCloud song, and I think that I'm the best in the area. Yeah, that was fine as a teenager. Again, running this like a business now, it's like, hey, I had this brand deal, I got to do this work. They expect these files by this time. This person has paid for these services. It's not just goofing off and playing around, but still, there's the side of you know, the world that sees any of the arts as, you know, hobbies and just playing around and stuff. So combating all those thoughts, combating, you know, those interactions, and still pursuing and trying to, you know, build it up to be an actual media company and a media conglomerate one day. I know that it's possible. The reality is it is not possible without the proper support. I fought that thought for a long time where I would get in conversations with people and be like, man, I gotta be honest, it's never gonna work for you until you have a team of people pushing you and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, you know, that sucks. I don't want to have to rely on other people supporting me to progress. But there is a level of it where it's like, man, genuinely, I'm never going to be able to do it by myself. But it begins to make me wonder, where is the weight being placed on the reasoning that I'm doing it by myself? It's not that I'm not seeking assistance, seeking support, seeking, you know, people to hire, things like that. It's the long term of it. I understand the burnout that comes with it and why it might seem like, okay, I'm doing really good with this, you know, business relationship for a few months, for a couple years even, and then radio silence, and then they've retired, and then they're not doing anything else, so I have to go and, you know, start from scratch and build out a new team. And hey, it is what it is, though. I didn't plan for all of that extra information. I just wanted to touch on the state of 1033 as it is. So like I said, it's just me right now for 1033. And then there's people that are associated, people that are like family. They're not signed to 1033. I never make anybody sign the paperwork. That probably is something that going forward I should look at. So it's like, okay, you sign the paperwork, here's what you're obligated to do. But then I feel like those obligations get in the way of the artistic endeavors, because I'm not trying to make money off of people. I'm trying to help them reach their goals with creation, so they can take that step forward to, you know, becoming a little more confident in their abilities with this. So I don't know. Like I said, I just wanted to touch on all of that and talk on the state of 1033, where things are right now. I appreciate all the support over the years. Those of you that have been here since this started, when I was, you know, shooting videos on an Android phone in high school, when I was uploading songs on, you know, SoundCloud and Hulkshare, and live mixtapes that I recorded on the T-Pain app, you know, stuff like that. Those of you that have been here that long, I appreciate it. And I know you've seen how serious this has been and how much growth has come from, you know, London Entertainment all the way to 1033.